There is a number of Stage 4 Xenomorph XX121 variants or subspecies. One of the most common is that of the drone. Also known as the lurker, the drone is one of the most encountered adult stages of the species' life cycle. In today's datalog, we at the project want to cover everything we know about this infamous creature that has plagued the Middle Heavens regions for hundreds of years. Following closely after the maturity of the Stage 3 XX121, known as the Chestburster, the fourth stage of the Xenomorph life cycle begins. The stealth ambush hunter known as the drone are the most frequently reported cast variant of the species Xenomorph XX121 amongst the frontier of the galaxy. A drone is generally the result of the DNA reflex interacting with a humanoid bipedal host. This means though that depending on the host it's gestated from, the drone's exact physical characteristics can largely vary between individuals. Most of the time though, these differences are rather minor. So in today's study we will be using the human-spawned drones as our point of reference when talking about their morphology and physical abilities as well as their overall behavior and nature. Most drones are naturally bipedal but can assume a quadrupedal stance, if necessary, usually adopted when climbing a wall or traversing a ceiling structure. A drone, like others of the fourth stage of the Xenomorph life cycle, possesses a thick outer layer, an exoskeleton of sorts formed from a very tough and very durable form of chitin encasing a circulatory system composed of highly acidic blood. This blood can be used as both a defensive and offensive weapon, as well as being used in some cases as a tool by the creature. Its chitinous armor forms sharp, long talons out from their feet, protruding deadly nail-like structures extending from their fingers, and travels in a ridge-like skeletal structure from the bottom posteriors of their pelvic region to create a powerful barbed-ended tail. All of these features combine to give the XX121 a lethal set of natural weapons to use against anything that might pose a threat to them or their hive. All Stage 4 Xenomorph, including the drone, but excluding the Scout, have a total of 4 dorsal tubules on their back that serve currently unknown purposes. Some researchers have suggested they allow the creature to respire, filtering and expelling respiratory gases from the atmosphere. Others have suggested they simply aid in the creature's balance and movement. Usually black, grey, green and brown in hue. With room for variation, these beasts stand at around 6 to 9 feet and can extend to around 14 feet when measuring from head to the tip of their tails. Their chitin armor, protective armor, acts as a great defense against a variety of physical melee and high velocity attacks. While it's been shown on a few occasions that a direct and focused arrow or bullet can penetrate this chitinous structure, generally nothing short of a high caliber round or even pulse weaponry is needed to effectively take these beasts down. In addition, their chitinous outer layers also provide great resistance to harsh environments, allowing them to survive in a large variety of hostile, toxic, radioactive, and unforgiving habitats. Extreme heat and cold, the vacuum of space, and being subjected to high doses of toxic and radioactive materials are all negated by the creature's powerful biological defenses, as well as internal and external forms of homeostasis. Whilst appearing quite stiff, the exoskeleton seems to have the ability to be flexed to a decent degree, allowing the creatures to move through tight and restricted spaces that would, at first sight, appear to be far too narrow or awkward for them to fit within. But like a snake, they appear to be able to fold and slink their way into nearly any position. This armor also appears to give them the ability to resist large impact forces on their body. The alien can drop from high places, impact the ground with their hefty forms, and not only survive, but immediately begin an assault on a victim. They have the standard double jaw structure which they use to eat, and also as an offensive weapon against their prey and any potential threats to the hive or themselves. If you encounter a xenomorph in the field or on your home colony, run. But even if you do, the fact that you have noticed the creature before it has seemingly attacked is usually a sign that you're already living on borrowed time. These creatures are the epitome of biological evolution. On top of their strength, their speed and agility is terrifying. They move much faster than the average human and can put Earth's fastest species to shame. This fact, matched with their unnatural reaction times, result in a creature that can chase down, engage with, and easily fend off enemies and rapidly dispatch multiple hostiles or potential victims. The average adult drone XX121 can also easily lift and crush an adult human with little effort and not break a sweat doing so. The average drone also shows a level of individuality as compared to other stages and types of XX121. Opting to hunt and function as an individual, as compared to the structured and organized group efforts of the soldier caste of xenomorphs. Drone or the lurker are solitary and so chooses to lurk, stalk and methodically wear away at an enemy, as opposed to direct brutish attacks. This behavior makes sense regarding their role to the life cycle at this point. The drones are essentially tasked with starting a hive structure, capturing enough hosts to begin the process of egg morphing for the purposes of growing their numbers as rapidly as is possible. or surviving long enough to mold itself eventually into a queen-type xenomorph and begin to lay its own eggs to end in the same, if not more rapid, result. In order to grow a hive from scratch, the drone will need to first secure a reasonably safe location in its environment, preferably warm and humid if possible. There it will begin to excrete a resinous substance that grows over and lines the walls, floors, and surrounding surfaces. At this point, the hive has begun and now more ovomorphs are needed. Once a drone procures a host victim, the creature plasters them into the resin of its hive and will then puncture their body with its barbed tail. It does this because the barbed tail of the creature contains the genetic material to produce an ovomorphs. This genetic information begins to rewrite the genome of its host, beginning the ovomorphing process, the result of which is an XX121 ovomorph and a Manumala contained within, ready to implant a host with Plagiaris prepotens in order to continue the life cycle of the creature and further grow the hive. Other than gathering host and preparing a hive for a coming queen, the drone will eat, hunt, investigate, and sleep. The general intelligence of the drone is also important to address, showing higher cognitive abilities than others of the species, besides perhaps the soldier and queen. Drones, especially those gestated within human hosts, see a pronounced level of intelligence. The drone's intelligence has been seen being put to use via application of its acidic blood as a tool to escape containment cells and implementing battle strategies against an enemy population, such as cutting off supply chains and even power and electrical systems on human colonies. Preceding an assault, among one of their strategies is to, when possible, attack an enemy with overwhelming force. This method can result in large casualty numbers. However, the end result is a psychologically shaken enemy that's morale is damaged and ready now for harvest, sneaking around environments by blending into the surroundings and patiently waiting to strike. This shows a level of self-control that allows the creatures to carefully stalk and hunt down unsuspecting prey. The drone has been seen enacting premeditated stealth attacks on victims, but have been recorded engaging in close-quarter savage combat. They are also capable of adapting which strategies they might implement depending on their own numbers and the numbers of the enemy, as well as what they know about the enemy. At this stage, these lurkers seem somewhat immune to the overbearing influence of the xenomorph hive mind and the queen. Seen acting independently from the hive and the queen they serve, some drones having superior intellect to others can take a semi-leadership role amongst others of its brood. The drone in its independence has also been noted to act quite strangely, investigating and experimenting with its environment and own body, resulting in odd-looking physical contortions and displays when left to their own devices. This behavior often continues until the drone matures into a stage 5XX121, either becoming a worker in the hive or a soldier for its queen, dictated mostly by needs of the hive at the time. This has been seen to occur due to the physical age of the creature, but this can also be induced by the queen using pheromonal signaling, forcing the molting process to stage 5. The easiest way to tell if a drone has begun to undergo development into the 5th stage of the XX121 life cycle is the transmorphing of its smooth cranial dome into one with ridges, bumps, and groups. Like other xenotypes, in terms of their weaknesses, they don't really have any. One thing that remains a constant amongst the various xenomorph variants is their fear or irritation to fire or flame. Most xenomorph types will retreat from it and go as far as to actively avoid it if possible. The drone though has been shown to easily withstand higher temperature than produced by the average flame, so it is unclear why the creature will seek to actively retreat from it. More study is needed in this area. While the Stalker and Scout variant of the Stage 4 xenomorph can be fooled into traps or highly hazardous situations, drones are far more intuitive and cunning, not so easily fooled. And so most of the time the only known advantage to use whilst dealing with a drone cast is to wait until the creature has retreated from engagements with its prey and is seeking to begin a rest cycle. During their brief hibernations is the best time to catch the creatures off guard and pelt them with as many pulse rounds as possible. To surmise this location, the drone will usually choose a location close to its emerging hive structure if one has even been produced at this point, more often than not a relatively warm place such as a reactor core, venting exhaust ducts and in between heated piping. The Scout, being slightly shorter than your average Stage 4 XX121, is around 2.1 meters tall when standing upright. The Scout is basically a quadrupedal variant of the 4th stage xenomorphs. They are usually brown, black in coloration, and are also known by their nickname of the Runner, and for good reason. These Stage 4 drone types are a particularly fast-moving form of the species Plagiaris prepotens. The Scout is usually the result of an XX121 gestated from a quadrupedal organism and fit the role of doing just what its name implies, scouting, seeking out a nearby source of hosts and alerting the hive when this is found. If no hive currently yet exists, then the Scout will assume similar duties to its drone brethren and begin capturing hosts and cocooning them for overmorphing until a time that a queen is formed and takes its place as the sole production unit of eggs for the hive. The Stalker is the fourth stage of the life cycle of the species Predomorph. The attempted recreation of the XX121 species by the synthetic known as David 8 during his time on the Engineer colony of Paradise. Classified under the species name Plagiaris leinsters, the Stalker is a highly aggressive and is far more a brutish cousin of the xenomorph species Plagiaris prepotens. Standing at around the same height and having a noticeably slimmer build, the Stalker easily switched between bipedal and quadrupedal stance with ease. The Stalker is also much more organic looking and lacks any real semblance of the biomechanical features that have become synonymous with the XX121 species. There appears to be a lack of an exoskeletal structure as well, as the Stalker appears much fleshier, covered in exposed muscular and ligament-like tissues. This means the creature can contort easier into different positions, however, does result in a beast more susceptible to physical damages like rifle fire. Despite this drawback, the Stalker has been shown to grow larger than a drone, move faster and attack with much more ferocity. However, they appear to be far less intelligent, lacking much in the way of strategic thinking, and so the beast acts much more animalistic in nature, having an insatiable need to kill that can sometimes be to its detriment. The Stalker is also hypothesized to be the evolutionary dead end for the species Plagiaris leinsters, not appearing to age or molt into a stage 5 or really anything post-maturity into a drone stage 4 type. Other variant types of the drone recorded was that of the clone xenomorphs produced aboard the USM Auriga from blood samples of the deceased Ellen Ripley at a time she was gestating a queen variant XX121. When attempting to clone the creatures, the scientists aboard the USM Auriga struggled to separate the human and xenomorph genetic material, as the samples they possessed were likely partially through the process of the DNA reflex. These creatures were likewise a human XX121 hybrid species, possessing a larger amount of the human genome than usual, or at least a highly rate of gene expression than usual. The clone xenomorph were similar to the predomorph in the sense they were fleshier in appearance. These creatures did still retain aspects of their cousin's chitinous armor. However, instead of covering their bodies totally, it only seemed to extend over certain areas where the lack of chitin would be replaced with thick fleshly hide. These creatures also were noted to be notoriously good swimmers with a more flattened out tail and smoother exoskeletal structure, improving their hydrodynamic locomotion. Other than these examples, a large number of other drone types exist simply spawned from other species, like the Snatchers aboard the Cold Forge, or the xenomorphs gestated from a lion worm on Zagreus, or such as XX121s gestated within human possessing genetic abnormalities, like the necromorph seen ravaging the population of the V-22 facility on the planet Jericho 3. The project will be sure to keep you all updated on the latest reports surrounding new Stage 4 variants from across the Middle Heavens region. If you really want to support what we do here and gain a bunch of awesome rewards, consider joining as a Project Akron channel member like company representatives, the Sith Lord 906, Lewis Perkins, and Jack Fleming Jr., or like our team members, Raunchy, Ambrosia, and Carl from the War Game Bootcamp. Until next transmission, this is Project Akron bringing the knowledge and the power directly to you.